Welcome and wake up South Africa. You are listening to the Coffee Conversation. My name is Dean Haystack and I'm just a guy who gives a damn. Today we are talking about white privilege. Apiwe.
Yeah, Dean. We meet again at it. Okay. As we are talking about white privilege, I'm just going to get right straight to it. And yesterday I sent you this. White privilege is an inherent advantage possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequality and injustice. That is what Google says white privilege is.
Okay.
And it's very close to home as I understand it and as I've observed life. White people, because they are white, they sure seem like they are more privileged than black people.
Yeah, I think we have to break down white privilege in the accusation. The first thing I want to ask you in you presenting that as an explanation for the accusation of white privilege is, do you find anything racist in that statement? When the claim is that purely because of the color of the skin, which is racial profiling, there is an attribute that is given to white people, and all white people. It's a blanket statement. Am I right in saying that?
It is a blanket statement.
It's a blanket statement.
All white people.
All white people are inherently benefited purely because of the color of their skin in a society, and that's the second part. Do you find anything racist at all in that statement?
Well, I find something more factual than racist. Maybe you'll have to show me how that would be racist, because definitely our society seems to be set up that way.
Sure. Now, if I want to break down white privilege, privilege just means the good things that you enjoy. So white privilege is just the good things that white people enjoy, on the simple analysis of the statement of white privilege. But it goes a lot deeper than that. I think that what the accusation has some credibility with in saying is that white people in general have enjoyed privilege more and at the expense of other people. And because of that, we have better lives. So apartheid is a very, very clear example. We had 80% of the opportunity, or we had the monopoly of opportunity from 1948 to 1988. And still, even after 1988, when apartheid was being dismantled, we still had a few years of the monopoly on opportunity. So we had all the opportunity, and blacks had very little, if any, of the opportunity. And because of that, we now enjoy much of our privilege. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Would you also agree with the fact that because we enjoyed privilege in those days, we've still inherited some of those privileges from those days?
Yes.
So that we still enjoy. So my great-grandfather handed down property to my grandfather. That then some of that went to my dad and his brothers, and when my dad passed away, and those things we earned in a situation where we had 80% of the opportunity at least. And I'm being very, very conservative to say 80%. We probably had 90% of the opportunity. There were very few black people who came through the system, even though they were the majority of the population. Is that all accurate so far? Okay.
Definitely.
That aspect of white privilege, that argument is sound. I 100% agree with that, and I think most reasonable South Africans out there should agree with that.
But then as you are going on with explaining this, I want to add something here.
Okay.
White privilege goes beyond. White privilege goes beyond than just the good things that you enjoy. White privilege entails the fact that because you are white, there is less prejudice directed to your way in your everyday life. You are not.
Give me an example.
An example, I walk into the shop as a black man. I get followed for no reason, nagged by a shop assistant asking me, can I help you with anything? And I'm just browsing.
What color is the shop assistant, as an example?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I am black. That is done to me.
Okay.
But because you are white, you would not experience the same thing. You would not experience the same thing. And again, another example, we've had conversations about this, which is something that goes beyond just what you have. I make a call calling an estate agent looking for a place to rent. Because of my accent, the place is taken, but it was listed 2 days ago or 1 day ago.
Okay.
And that now becoming a common occurrence to an extent that the odds are really rare that that's really what's happening here.
That's real. That I've experienced, that I've seen.
That is white privilege.
That is that white privilege or is that black prejudice? But let's assume it's white privilege, okay? Because for you it's black prejudice. They're applying a prejudice to you because you're black. But when I go, they're offering me the privilege of being a credible candidate for the House automatically
because
I'm white. Okay. And I think that is 100% real. And I want to get into possible reasons for that later. Before we go there, I want to go back to this notion that inherently we are advantaged because we are born white. There's a massive, massive danger there. What that says to me, yesterday you said to me, can I have some of your privilege? I answered in a joking way and said, no, you can't because you're black. That's what the statement seems to say in my mind. That I can have it because I'm white, and for that you're allowed to hate me, and you can never have it because you're black, is what it's telling most of the black people. And that's a lie. Because privilege is the good things that one enjoys. And we got some of it because we're white. There's a whole lot of privileges that we have that we don't have just because we're white. And there's a whole lot of privilege that black people have, and so many more can have, even though they're not white. So I'm not debunking white privilege and saying it doesn't exist. Let's take this statement. Let's assume white privilege is a total lie. Even then it's real, because it is alive in the minds of people. Therefore it's real, so we need to deal with it. The one danger of the accusation that really, really horrifies me, not for white people, but for black people, is that when somebody goes, white privilege, we need to cut the head off the white economy, is that you're telling black people that they can never have the good things that we are enjoying, when in fact many, many black people are enjoying many aspects of the same privilege. Now we can go into the stuff where you've been prejudiced, and we can have a look at that. So give me another example of...
On what you've just said, on the things you've said, white privilege is, if it's going to stay that way, it means so that I keep on enjoying this, I must not tamper with that.
Explain that, sorry. Like, who's enjoying this?
You said,
okay,
white privilege
yeah,
is the good things that you enjoy. And you disagree with the cutting of that. You mentioned that word about cutting the head of the white economy.
Yeah.
But looking at the white economy and all those things, even though now we are reducing the conversation to economy and things, because it goes way more than that in my mind. But even the economy, this again can take us forever, but even the economy, the table, the term I always use, the table is not made bigger, the table is smaller. The table is smaller and it has more white people in it. The table of the good things that
people enjoy.
I
want to break that down.
That table has got more white people than it has black people.
Okay, I want to break that down because that's actually not true. There aren't enough black people in, but there aren't more white people than black people, and I want to qualify that. And let me just give you a little example. Up until 1994, let's say, the cake of South Africa's economy was, let's say, this big. Okay, it was this big, and only the white people were eating from the cake. The black people weren't eating. You were getting the scraps. Okay. Now the economy, since 1994, has actually got smaller. Although it's got slightly bigger, according to inflation and the relative size of the economy to the rest of the world, it's actually got smaller. But now you've got more people eating from a smaller cake. And the evidence shows that there are only about 2 million, just under 2 million white families, white people within 1.1 million families that are contributing tax. Yet there's 5 million people contributing tax. That tells me that if there's less than 2 million whites, there are just over 3 million blacks who are contributing to SARS. So the cake that is this size, that was being enjoyed only by white people, now being slightly smaller, is being enjoyed by white people, less than half of that cake, And by some black people, the other less than half. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good thing. But what it does reveal is that it is no longer a white economy only. It's no longer a white economy only. It is now just an economy that is an economy a color. Let's assume you cut the head off the white economy and every single white business collapses. What happens to the rest of the country? The economy gets even smaller and there's even less to go around. Every one person that comes out of the economy, 10 people lose jobs at least. Every person that comes into the economy, 10 people get jobs at least, because that person in the economy is spending. So if you cut the head off the white economy, which a white economy doesn't exist. There's an economy that some whites participate in and some blacks participate in. It's industry, it's not color. Here's the problem. We've got 1 million families who are white in South Africa, approximately only 1 million households. And there's 14.5 million households in the country. 1 million white households and 1.1 or 1.2 million households are black that participate in the economy. That leaves 13 million families out the economy. They're the ones who are suffering the most. But it's no longer a white economy with only whites having privilege. Yes, some of the whites are still enjoying privilege because of the color of their skin.
Most of the whites, in proportion. Most of the whites, if you look at blacks and their numbers, and you look at whites and their numbers, there is very little poor white people compared to black people. And again, I know you said because black people are more, but even proportionally, the percentages,
100%.
White people are more
85% of white people are not in poverty. There's maybe 15% who are in not even poverty, but just poorer. But yet 80% of the black people are in poverty. And there's maybe 20% who aren't.
And that is the privilege that white people have.
But not necessary. Yeah, I agree.
It is a privileged position not to be poor.
Yeah. Okay. It is a privileged position not to be poor.
That's
Most white people enjoy that privilege, if not nearly all of them enjoy that privilege. But the accusation says that the only reason that they enjoy that privilege is because they're white. And that's dangerous.
In most cases, that's how it plays out. In most cases,
give me an example.
That's how it plays out. I'll give you an example. For instance, we do talk about these things. And here we are in a company. We are contributing, we are working in a company. We're doing the same job.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we are paid the same way. Maybe I trained you.
Yeah.
You came after me in this company.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got more experience than you. I trained you because you did not know or have any background on the work that you are doing. But because you are white, it's very easy for you to get a promotion in that work environment. It's very easy for you to get ahead in that space, in that economy. Again, we said it's not a black or white economy, but a white person seems to always get ahead quicker than a black person, even though a black person has a wealth of experience in the field. That is white privilege. That is really in the everyday life.
All right. I think there's a major element to that that's true, but there's also a major assumption that isn't true. It isn't always the case. There are a lot of black people who've gone ahead of white people. Not enough. Okay. But that being said, I think that aspect of, I've witnessed it in places where you get a person who's worked there for 6 months to a year, and they're qualified to do a certain thing. A young white person comes in, and the boss promotes the white person first, even though they're not as competent. That happens. I had a situation, and I'm going to highlight the story. The story is like this, and it's true, is that I was working for a friend of mine, and he had a cabinet business, and the lead carpenter who I was following, he was in charge, was a colored guy, and we went to the customer's house. As we walk in the customer's door, the customer assumes I'm in charge because I'm white. So he's extended privilege to me based on the color of my skin. So that's a demonstration of the accusation of white privilege. My first question is, why am I guilty because of his prejudice? My second question is, the customer was black. You didn't expect that. Why am I guilty because of your prejudice? And if I'd said, and it wasn't, if I'd said the customer was a black woman, which is also possible because black women own houses today as well. Not many, but some. That's even furthermore, it would have exposed people's prejudice. My question is, why am I guilty walking into the house of white privilege when the privilege is being extended by somebody else in their prejudice? I want to highlight this. If I take advantage of that situation, or if I'm in his position extending privilege to a white person, I think then there's guilt and liability.
Can I ask
And
you
I
a
just
question
want to
then?
separate the two, because the reason why he assumed I was in charge is not primarily because I was white. That was just the picture that he saw. He related that picture to a reputation.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why do you feel that, or why do you feel guilty when a truth of white privilege is pointed out?
I don't feel guilty.
Why is there guilt?
No, there's a defense of a certain position within white privilege, yes.
So does white privilege, when I'm stating that you have white privilege, does that make you feel like you have to defend yourself?
It used to, until I found out what it was. And then sometimes it depends how you say it. So if you say to me, listen, Dean, you've got that because there's white privilege. So for example, we came to a studio and I got the meeting with the head of the studio. And I probably got the meeting easier because I was white. That's an aspect of the privilege extended to me, not one that I'm taking. The privilege extended to me because I'm white got us in the door. What secured the deal? When the guy met you and heard your story, they decided to back. Is that black privilege? No, it's competence.
Now we're talking about white privilege.
Okay, sure. But I'm saying it's, yes, and white privilege got me in the door. The fact that I was a white guy, he assumed certain things about me based on reputation of white people in general, and we can get there because that might sound racist. There's an aspect of it that could be racist. He let me in the door. But if I didn't have anything to offer him, and I didn't have anything to offer him until you came in the door, and you told him your story, only then did he buy into what we're doing. So how far does my privilege take me? Gets me in the door, but that's it. Then my reputation needs to be substantiated. We had another situation where I wanted to go see a professor at the university, but I couldn't get there without you. My white privilege didn't help me much there. In actual fact, somebody tried to accuse me of, oh, the only reason you got to see the professor is because you're white. And I said, actually, in this instance, and I agree that that does happen, and I don't need to apologize for that, but I do need to back it up with competence. The only reason I got in is because I was with a black guy. So how does my white privilege... Let me ask you this, as a joking kind of question. If I wear that color in a suit with my complexion, I'm going to look like a hot dog. You're going to look amazing. Where's the best dressed people in the world are black people. Because of the tone of their skin, they can carry every color. This is flippant, but there's an example. You guys can look much better. There's a suit that we've got that I wear it, I look like Coco the Clown. This other guy came in colored. He looked amazing because of the skin tone. Am I now going to accuse him of black privilege? Well, maybe it is a black privilege, but why must he feel guilty? In that aspect, I don't feel guilty. When it's given to me as the only reason you are sitting here today is because you're white. The only reason you've got this cell phone is because you're white. The only reason you've got it, I go, that doesn't mean I need to defend myself. I need to defend the black people in a way because the black people can have it too.
If you say, I'm going to start with that, the black people can have it too. When you say the black people can have it too, you are acknowledging that you have it.
Yeah.
There is a reality of white privilege in South Africa.
No, there's a reality of privilege. How much of it is white? I don't know.
There is a reality. I want you to tune in to what you know out there.
Yeah.
I want you to tune in to the realities of black people
Yeah.
and then compare that with the realities of white people. You take a drive into a township. You know that this is not your world. You know that this is not where you want to be. And I can tell you, many, many black people who are there, they resent their existence. They find reasons from their existence to accuse white people who are enjoying the good things. That's how much they resent their existence. That's how much they feel underprivileged.
Correct.
So I'm saying, with your eyes open, do you see that as a valid point or a valid base for white privilege? That white people are in a more secure, cleaner, nicer environment than black people. You can even look at the statistics of death. Look at how old the life expectancy of a black person and the life versus a life expectancy of a white person. A white person lives longer than a black person. And again, because of what they eat, because of what they're exposed to. And that is a place where white privilege can come from. But mostly, white privilege is the fact that when you walk into your neighborhood, there is no people trying to find out whether you are a criminal or not. You are not expected to rob anybody, to take anything from anybody. That is the privilege.
It is a privilege. Aspects of it is earned. Aspects of it is just afforded and it's unwarranted. You live in a very different area to me. How many of the people who live in the area that you live in want to live there?
Well, I haven't done really a precise count, but I can tell you that it's always a dream. It's always a dream to get out of the ghetto. It's always a dream to get out of the hood. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a goal that people wish. Well, I can't say it's a goal. I can say it's more of a wish, because in many instances, people don't even think that it's possible for them to attain that. So there is what you could call learned hopelessness. People have learned to deal with their reality. Okay. So it's not so much as a goal.
Those that have the opportunity to move out, do they always move out? We've discussed this. So I'm going somewhere where you know what you revealed to me, and I think it's important to highlight. How many of the people living in your area want to live in my area? And how free are they to want to live in my area?
That's a question. That's a question, because I can't claim that there are only poor people in the township. I can't claim that. I would be lying if I say that, because living in the township, I know the types of vehicles and the types of houses that people are building, and some of the people I know who have quite good jobs that they can afford a place out of that environment. So I understand that there is part of it that is culture, but again, that could contribute to that minority of the black people.
I want to look at this. There is an element of white privilege as the accusation in the statement, where you're left with two options. Okay, the one option is, and I see a lot of this when people make the accusation, is they don't want what white people have got. They just don't want white people to have it. And that means that everybody who's on this level needs to come down to this level. And that's maybe an option. Okay, how long that's sustainable, because that may even collapse further. The other option is to try and lift people higher. And I will touch on this in the next one because we need to wrap up. In the next session, let's discuss how willing are people to get out, how willing are people really to get out of the ghetto.
We shall look at that.
My name is Dean Haystack, and I'm just a guy who gives a damn. Thank you for joining.
And this is Apiwe, the other side of the story. I talk over him.